It is no secret that the 49ers need help rushing the passer. Where can they find it? We're going to dive into the tape today to let you know exactly who can bail out this pathetic pass rush in 2026. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast. We call it the Demonetization Station because we dive into the film on this show, and then the NFL takes all of our money. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. That man is Johnny Dell from the Johnny Dell Football Academy. How are you on this chilly February day?
Well, in my part of the land, it's not too chilly. It's going to be 78 degrees today, but the big chill's coming. It's going to be back down into the 20s within a few days. So this is the fake spring that Alabama gets every year, where we get like 3 days where it warms up and everybody thinks winter's over, and then you still have another 5 weeks of winter.
78 is wild. I am insanely jealous. Thanks for that. So here's what we're going to do on today's show. We all know the 49ers were just abysmal rushing the passer last year. Last in the league in sacks, last in the league in pressure rate. It was yuck and poo, especially after Nick Bosa went down. So how does it get better? Well, fortunately, there's this thing called the draft. So the Niners will have an opportunity, you would think, to potentially bolster their pass rush. What we're going to do today is look at some guys at the Senior Bowl who might be able to help the 49ers. And as you were telling me before we push record, Johnny, the good news is there's a group there.
There is. I think this is a really strong edge rusher class, specifically for speed rushers. There's not as many of the prototypical 280, 285 kind of guys that are going to be your big slogging defensive ends. There's a lot of guys who are in that 245 to 265 pound range, different lengths, but all have a lot of burst and bend and quickness off the edge. That was one thing that just stood out at the Senior Bowl. How many different guys are there? We're going to look at 4 this afternoon, but guys that I think are honorable mentions that maybe some people in the chat are going to be like, hey, what about this guy? They are on my radar. I think for me, the guy who was number 5th on my list that just barely didn't make the cut here is Tyreek Sapp from Florida. I think he's a phenomenal defensive end. He's going to be somebody who keep your eye on over the next few weeks, especially at the combine. Nadame Tucker from Western Michigan is somebody that probably is going to be a day 3 pick that I think brings an incredible amount of burst, an incredible amount of lightning off the edge. A guy that looks like his twin is Vincent Anthony from Kentucky. Another guy, long, lengthy guys. Both these guys remind you more of Leonard Floyd than your prototypical, stronger defensive ends. But if you're looking for that speed rusher, they are definitely there. I think Max Lewin from Iowa is really intriguing. He's more of the like Trey Hendrickson body. He's not that player, but he's interesting because he's a very all-around tight end that can bring something with the pass rush. Quintavious Hutchins, I think, is the most intriguing prospect from Boston College. Incredible speed off the edge. There is some questions about production. He only had 4.5 sacks last year at Boston College. Not exactly playing against the best tackles in the league, but showed up to the Senior Bowl and looked so slippery. He was almost looked unblockable in some of the one-on-ones with his quickness. So becomes very intriguing going forward. I think any of those guys you can look at as day 3 picks that, you see their name pop up. You can say, okay, all is not lost. They may be a day 3 pick, but I remember hearing something about them way back in February.
Okay, well, good, because we need the help, and it may not come in round 1. The Niners may go elsewhere. So as many names as you can give us to keep an eye on and be encouraged about, we are here for. Who do you want to start with on today's show?
So we're going to start with, I think, the guy that was the number 1 edge prospect out of the Senior Bowl. After his 2024 campaign at Clemson, this is TJ Parker. After his 2024 campaign, he was being slotted by some people as a top 15 pick because he had 11 sacks in 2024 there at Clemson. In some games, just looked unblockable and could take over a game. Well, then 2025 happened. and he dropped down to 5 sacks. Teams, he was on their radar. He was getting lots of chips. He was getting lots of double teams. He was getting teams that were sliding protection his way. He was the focal point of offenses saying, we will not let this guy get 11 sacks this season. And he struggled. And so it's not as much an arrow down. It's just a highlight that he has to learn in the next step of how to combat when that is happening to him. That's a growth that any great edge player is going to have to go through. He doesn't have the greatest burst off to the hump, but he brings so many other things. His long arm, as you're going to see, is, I think, the best after the top 10 in this class, like the top 10 overall. Like he's got an incredible long arm. He's 6'4", 6'5" ish. 260 plus long arms. As you can see, these arms are quite lengthy, and he knows how to use them. Incredible power. So after the Senior Bowl, before the Senior Bowl, he was being targeted end of the first, early second, right around 32 was where he was getting ranked. In Daniel Jeremiah's latest mock draft 2 days ago, he put TJ Parker going 17th to the Lions. So he has been climbing the draft board since the Senior Bowl, and he may have played himself out of range of the 49ers, but we'll see why. And if he's there, I think the 49ers should absolutely pick him. So here he is going against the tackle, and here's that long arm.
Oh,
Devastating. I mean, when I say he's got a great long arm, it is there. He's got the length. He knows how to use it. You're going to see him here. The length, again, long arm. He uses that long arm to drive the tackle vertical and then cuts underneath. So there's that long arm getting under the armpit, and he's going to push this guy vertical and then come underneath. And so you're getting, let me go to it better. Oh, that's not it. White. Will white show up a little bit better? There we go. He's going to get underneath the tackle, drive it, and then come in for a win on this rush. Here he is going, and this is what I really like, the hand fighting skills. Watch the hands here. He's going against Jennings Dunker, who was the star of the Senior Bowl from the offensive line. This is a phenomenal battle to watch. Watch these guys hands fighting. Oh, that's something. That reminds you kind of like Nick Bosa with the hand fighting, the hand skills. That's what he brings, that steady power, great hands, knows how to use them, knows how to work these guys and use leverage, and that length keeps guys at bay. There he is again, the long arm into the armpit, drive the tackle vertical, and scoop underneath. Lots to like about TJ Parker.
And that long arm I was not like, when you said it was good, I was like, all right, we'll see a little here. I did not expect him to basically just stiff arm an offensive lineman back into the quarterback. We need it. We need it desperately. It can't just be coming from Nick Bosa. So just to see that exists in this class, I don't care what the 49ers have to do. Somehow, some way, they have to find a way to get one of these guys. I'm not going to attach any value to anyone specifically, but somebody, you have to do it this year, because the defensive line, it was non-threatening last year.
Yeah, you just simply did not have enough weapons along the defensive line in rushing passer. Here you're going to see that speed to power. This is where he is so lethal when he pushes vertical, and then boom, there's the power and dunks the left tackle. Here you're going to see it from the end zone. He has the speed to power. This is his game. Now, I will say, because he doesn't have that elite speed over the edge, that if he doesn't win on this, if tackles are able to sit down and absorb his power rush, he needs to learn some counter moves to this. But it's kind of like that trick he has up in his bag is very devastating. It's very good, and it's why he had such a strong 2024. You're going to see him here at the bottom, that he's going to just, again, this is where he can win around the hump. So he's got a good first step. Now, if he doesn't win in those first couple steps with speed and guys set up against his power, that's where he's got to learn some counters in there. But he has all the makings of a very, very good edge rusher. Again, here you're going to see him. Tackle doesn't even really get a hand on him. He's in a wide 9. Here he comes off the edge. Tackle was expecting him to come inside, and he just beat him on at the hump. Now he pulls up because they don't want him to be creaming the quarterback in practice. So he's got enough juice to win there. Receive from the other end zone. Take forever to snap the ball. You can see that tackle knew he was beat. And then you're going to see him here at the bottom. Now you're going to see the team rep translation of this long arm to a would-be sack. He's going to do what you saw in the one-on-ones. He's going to get up in this tackle, use his long arm to drive the tackle, and then come inside for a would-be sack. And there it is. So you like to see that translation from you saw it in the one-on-ones. Can you do it during the team reps? And because, sometimes guys will flash things in the one-on-ones and they get in team reps and they just disappear. All the guys that I've talked about were able to flash what they did in the one-on-ones to the team reps. And then you say, well, can you hold up against the run? Here, they're going to try and kick him out. And here you can see that length and power. He's just going to accordion the end here, stand up the right tackle, and they can't get outside of him. That's meant to be an outside run, and it has to cut all the way back inside. So there's TJ Parker. If he's there at 27, if he makes it to 27, that's the guy you got to pick, in my opinion.
I like the last clip you showed, setting the edge. People they just ignore that. They act like it's nothing because there's no stat, right? You don't fill up a box score by doing that, but you are affecting the game. You are changing the play. It's what Mykel Williams did so well last year. I don't know if PFF gives you a high grade for that or not, but like that's not nothing. That's a real contribution. And the Niners 2 years ago didn't have anybody that could do that. Last year, we saw Mykel Williams do it when he was healthy on the field, and they need more guys that can do it because too often this defense was getting perforated.
Yeah, once Mykel and Nick Bosa went down, it was Samo. That was it on the edge that could hold an edge against a run. And so I think it was Dieter had talked to you about that during the offseason last year about, just the pains of not being able to hold up against the run. And so there you see it. So I'll pull up the next prospect here after I get this so it won't give us weird speed.
Bosa himself was talking about how he was just desperate to have somebody else that could hold the edge.
Desperate. Yeah.
And I loved the comment he had about like, oh, you could see we've got NFL bodies in there. Like he was telling you they did not have the horses 2 years ago. And he was like, we got something here. And I really wish that we had gotten to see this line together for a whole season, because I really think it would have looked so much different. I think they all would have gotten a lot better playing with one another. Not to be, unfortunately, but maybe next year. But it has potential, but they got to actually see it through. And if they could, of course, make another addition this year, because I think they're probably going to lose, Yetur Gross-Matos. I don't know that you bring him back with all his injury problems, so you do have to add to it.
Yeah, that knee seems to be, I don't think that's something that's going to get better. They haven't told us exactly what it is, but it's clearly something that is probably not going to get better as Father Time goes along. The next guy we're looking at is Zion Young from Missouri. He's a long athlete with great power and burst. He can push the pocket, has great bend to win with speed, and can hold up at the point of attack against the run. To me, this guy looks like who they hoped Drake Jackson would be. That's what he kind of the feeling I get with him on here. We're going to see him in the individual drills, and we're going to see here the biggest thing you're looking at is that bend around the corner. You're looking for bend where he can't lean on these bags. He can't get in here and just lean on it, and you can see that ability to dip and bend. You're really going to see it here. That's the bend you love to see right here. Get around the hump and go. The explosion on that. That is a rare trait to be able to have that kind of speed around the corner. He's 260 pounds, I want to say. He's not as long as TJ Parker. So he does tend to get swallowed up sometimes by some bigger framed tackles, but he shows the great bend and quickness. He's not a long 40-yard dash guy, but that first 10-yard split is fantastic. His speed to power is a problem for tackles, and that's what you're about to see here in these one-on-ones. Speed to power, to push the pocket, drive inside. This is against Austin Barber, who's a tackle that I really do like from Florida. And he just had a hard time with his speed to power. You can see him just push him. I mean, that's just condensing the pocket. That's that speed to power. This is Maxi Anachor, the kid from Arizona State that really has some incredible movement speeds. people have fell in love with this kid after the draft, him. And you can see though, or after the Senior Bowl, but you can see this quickness to set it up and then work inside, quick feet, really like it. I mean, that's what you like to see with this kid. Quick feet show up over and over and over again.
Is it too simple, too lazy a comparison to think about another defensive end that was tall and had bend that came from Missouri years ago that the 49ers drafted in the first round, and Aldon Smith?
I will say, Aldon Smith had some of the longest arms we've ever seen. And he doesn't have that. He doesn't have quite his burst, like vertical burst. But as we've seen, when guys get to the NFL, there's like a baseline, and where they go from there is up to their personal dedication and all that. But this was one of his best reps there, just plants the tackle. I mean, speed to power is fantastic. That's why like I said, there's a lot of good speed guys in this draft, and guys that can take speed and move it to power, and strong arms just to disengage on this tackle. When this guy sets up to absorb it, boom, there's the rip, and he's going to go and win. Really like Zion Young. He's right now, it's hard to say. People are kind of ranking in between 25 is what I've seen as highest, and 45. He's not going to be there probably at the end of the second round. This is somebody who's at worst, I think, a middle second round pick. He could go as high. There's mocks that are putting him to the 49ers at 27. So that's kind of where he falls in. Really interesting prospect.
So in other words, the second round pick that you get for trading Mac Jones could be the perfect spot to draft Zion Young.
It could be. I just realized I pulled up the wrong clip here on Derrick Moore. This is Derrick Moore from. I may have forgotten to. I'm going to have to come back to Derrick Moore because I just realized I forgot to export his video.
Let's do this. Let's do this Sleeper, and you can take care of your business here. Sleeper's been a sponsor of the show all season long. We are incredibly grateful to them, as we have been telling you all year. Go download the app. It is the best app out there. Of course, there's daily fantasy, there's season-long fantasy, there's a social media feed as well, real-time play-by-play tracking, and now even team picks, all available on the app for you. So again, go check it out. Just sign up. As you see on the screen, you'll get a free $20 entry. Just go have some fun, see if you like it. And if you do like it and you decide you want to deposit some money, use our code GSP, and you'll get a 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. So why not go and see if you like it? That's what we're saying. If you try it, you will like it. Currently operational in over 25 states. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Check out Sleeper today. All right, Johnny. So you've got me intrigued with the first two people that you have shown. I will now forever equate Zion Young and Aldon Smith in my head, just because that's how my reptile brain works. But that is how the thing is going to happen. Now, there's at least one other, I think two other guys you want to talk about on today's show, correct?
Yeah, I'm just give my computer 25 seconds here, and it'll finish exporting, and I can pull up my number 4 guy, and we'll come back to number 3.
Here is my question to you. Do they have to take one of these guys in the first round, or can they go receiver or offensive line in round 1 and have one of this group possibly available 27 round 2?
I think you might get Derrick Moore here at 64 or 54. Excuse me. You maybe get the guy I'm about to talk about, Gabe Yakis, here at 54, maybe, but they are not a guarantee. I don't think any of these guys are going to be last till day 3. These are all going to be day 1 and 2 picks. But like I said at the very top, there are other options there in day 3. It doesn't mean that who they get in day 3 is going to be just, they can't do it. It's not gonna, it's leftover sort of a thing. This is a strong edge class. And so, yes, I would love to have one of these 4 guys, But this is going to be the challenge of the 49ers over the next 2 months, is figuring out where do they slot some of these guys. So here we'll get to my fourth guy on this one.
I just hope that whoever they get, I want to see them do something that pops off the screen, right? Like, I think that Alfred Collins and CJ West are solid players, but they don't, you got to look close to see the success there, right? Like, if they haven't drafted, like Nick Bosa, it was like, as soon as you watch him, you're like, oh, okay, that guy's a stud. Like, can we get one of those guys at defensive line? It's great to draft the solid players, and I think the 49ers have, but they need that guy that just pops off the screen.
They need a sexy pick is what they need. They need a needle mover. They need a dynamic guy. I think, Gabe Yakis here, he's somebody you're going to see. I think he has an incredible ceiling as an edge rusher. He's a super twitchy athlete with a great first step, long arms, and fantastic bend. He isn't as strong against the run, but pass rush ceiling seems sky high and consistently maintains good leverage. What you're going to see here, he's not a long 40 guy either, but this 10-yard burst, watch his 10-yard burst here, or here you see the bend to work around. He's going to get it, and then the long arms go get it. And then I think, I have one more of these, and then I have one of the square rushes. You can see the feet to work around the edge. I like it. Okay, now here's the 10-yard burst. Quickness to get up to that second bag is awesome. Then the bend around and go get it. Love that. Now let's translate on to the field. So here he's going to come, work the hands, get vertical. All right. Now he's going to work. He's going to see the same thing. He wins with hands. He wins with speed to power, and he wins with speed. We're going to see that there. He was working with the hands. You're going to see speed to power. He's going to drive the tackle back. I like it. Push the pocket here. He's against Austin Barber. He did get swallowed up a little bit, got himself a little too out over his toes. But he's you can see the build though. Like he's a leaner guy. This is a little bit smaller. He's going to be a specialist pass rusher. He is against Max. Okay, there's the speed to power to drive the tackle back. He's got good power for what you would think. He's a little bit smaller frame than some of these other guys, but he can set that speed up and then transition to power. You see him against Max again, and here he just wins around. So now there he was speed to power, and then here he wins with speed. So he can go against the same guy. When the guy's ready for a speed to power, he comes back and wins with speed. I like that. I like that you have multiple things in your arsenal. We're going to see him at the top here. This is another would-be sack / strong pressure. We'll see it better from the end zone, but he's right here. You're going to see him work this against one of the biggest frame tackles at the Senior Bowl. This guy, 70, he was a massive human being. I talked to him for a few minutes. He's a huge kid, but there he is. It's only because he gets put in a headlock that he doesn't get that sack. He wins and dips underneath, and the tackle grabs him around the head. See him off the edge here. That speed and bend around the top. There it is. Whew. Only because he put in a headlock. Completely grabbed his face mask. He wins there. I like to see it. All right. He's on this edge. Same thing. He's going to work this, and he's going to blow past the tackle. So here it comes. Whew, right underneath would be sack. So there's that speed edge rusher. I think he had the best speed in my opinion here. There he just blows right past Austin Barber to break up the pass.
He looks very twitchy, very kind of like explosive. He looks like he was, almost just chomping at the bit. And then it's like the horses at the horse race. They open the gate and boom, everybody shoots out of the gate. Like he looks very, very explosive.
Yeah, that's why the very first note I had on here on my scouting is super twitchy athlete.
Yeah.
Just you can see it, just the incredible burst off the edge. So this is what I mean. This kid is more of your specialist pass rusher. Because of that, he will be more the late second round because he's not that all around guy like Zion Young or TJ Parker. But you can see the vision there. You can see that even when you start saying, okay, this isn't a first round pick, this isn't an early second round pick, at the end of the second, there's a guy here who's got an incredible skill set that we could really use.
I don't think the 49ers defense has enough of those type of athletes and players, those kind of twitchy, sort of explosive guys. Though they're hard to find. You can't always get them everywhere, especially at that position. So that's a very interesting name for me to keep an eye on.
Yes, Gabe Yakis, however you say it. It's Jacs or Jacas is how his last name's spelled. Good kid too. He talked to the podium for a few minutes there on media day and seemed really grounded. The last guy we're going to look at, I think, and Zion Young, Derrick Moore, Gabe Yakis, they're all pretty. They're clumped together in defensive end rankings, and so this kid is somebody that brings a lot of intrigue. Derrick Moore out of Michigan, powerful, fast athlete with great burst. Bend isn't quite as good as Zion Young's, but he has a great motor. He's strong at the point of attack and has powerful hands. He doesn't have Young's length and can get swallowed up by some bigger frame tackles, but he does have better long speed, chase down speed than Zion Young. So here you're going to see that. Here's your 10-yard burst is what you're looking for. It's not quite as twitchy as you see as some of these other guys. He is smooth around the corner, but the bend isn't as low. That's what you're seeing. Now here, he had maybe one of the best reps there. He took this tackle and drove him to the ground. So that was pretty exciting to see for first day of the Senior Bowl. We got in there and oh my goodness, he just planted that guy. Now they're the same guy. He's coming around. Okay, now the guy's ready. And this is what I mean. He can get swallowed up by some of these bigger tackles. This is, like I said, 70. He's the biggest frame tackle. That kid is huge. Yeah. He's a massive human being, and he had to go against him a bunch. And you can see the fighting they had. That he these guys were in a back and forth. You can see here the speed to power in the hands. I like to see the hands. The guy got a grab of his face mask, so that slowed him down. Here you see him against a smaller tackle. Now when it's not a huge frame tackle, he can use his arms and really drive that tackle off his spot. So now you're seeing, okay, this is pretty cool. You getting a lot of push in the pocket. So now we're going to see him in the team drills. He's up here. Now he's going to end up defending the run. He's going to take this tight end for a ride. Just watch him here off the edge. They're going to try and run this ball. And here he comes, stands him up, and drives that guy into the play. You're going to see it really well from the end zone. This was like opening period. Here he is. He's going to get this defensive end and drive him in. Oof. There it is. Love to see it. Yeah, really cool. You get it from the other end. Here it goes. I love this play. Just drives that tight end into the run. That's setting an edge against the run.
That's another no stat play, by the way.
Yeah. It's a no stat play because you don't get a tackle for that,
right?
But you completely made the play. Here you're going to see him against same kid, Max. He's got really good speed to power, drives that in there, forces the quarterback to outlet the ball. Notice how far he condenses this pocket. He's going to drive the tackle into the far hash. That's what you'll have to see. Boom, there it is. And that's a quality pressure right there. Okay, you're getting up here. He gets a dip and rip on this tackle. I love to see this, where it would be a sack in a game. Here he goes, and he would be a sack. They have to let up because, again, they don't want him tackling these quarterbacks in live drills. But he had a couple would-be sacks in these drills. And remember, these guys only get like 4 or 5 team reps per period. So he dips, rips, gets in there and wins. He's going to be a good all-around defensive end, I think, edge player. He's somebody that what I do like is that, he's going to bring you some juice in the pass rush. But unlike a Bryce Huff, he doesn't bring as much speed as Bryce Huff, but he brings you much more edge setting ability. If, for when your second round guys, your second wave of defensive linemen come in, that you can still stand up against the run.
If you had to pick one of these guys for the 49ers,
TJ Parker.
It would be okay. You didn't even hesitate.
Yeah. Because I think he's got the most juice, all around juice, and has the physical measurables to have the highest ceiling. I think he's somebody that will be a really good player in this league. Now these other guys have a lot of really intriguing aspects to them, and I think they're going to be good football players. I think just TJ Parker is kind of head and shoulders out of that group. There's only a handful of guys I think coming out in this draft that you would even put ahead of TJ Parker at all.
I will say this. They have Micah Williams, Alfred Collins, CJ West. I think it's very possible day 1 or day 2 pick is going to be another defensive lineman. Chris Kasarik is supposed to be the best defensive line coach in the NFL, right? He makes a ton of money. Everybody raves about him. He has got some supposed talent to work with. He has got some clay to mold in San Francisco. It has got to be better next year. If the pass rush is not any better next year, then either the defensive lineman got to go or Kasarik's got to go, because they have invested way too much in this unit on defense and gotten way too little.
Yeah, that or they've got to rethink some of their priorities as far as what they focus on as far as defensive linemen. They love guys with length, and so it may be one of those things where they start saying, okay, kind of like did with quarterback. They said it's not about the measurables on this; it's about who plays the position best. They may have to move away from that or move towards that instead of just saying we want guys with length. We want guys with length. You need to, in the end, have to have guys that can win no matter what. Like there's just got to be guys that can win. You pick those guys and you roll with them. I do think that, like I said, there's going to be some day 3 guys that show a lot of burst. I really like the Ndame Tucker kid out of Western Michigan. Really like him. Great length. He's again more of that lean type, similar to what we saw with Gabe Yakis. He's not as thick, but he brings great burst. He can get around the edge. I think Vincent Anthony is another kid that was really very similar player. I think either of those guys, if you're looking for pure speed rushers, they will be there. I think in round 3 or 4. Tucker, probably because he's a small school kid, might even be there round 5. But I think, if you want that, we're going to invest other places for our premium picks. I'm fine with that. I am, but you've got to in some way get some tools together in here that allow you to get more juice in the passers. Maybe that involves taking your defensive line to the max or taking the max to your defensive line.
I see what you're doing there.
So it may be in a month. We're not even worrying about edge players because the 49ers address that need some other way. I wouldn't be
have no more draft picks left.
Right. So, but I think, there's options here. There's also some really good interior defensive linemen. I think Daniel Jeremiah had Lee Hunter to us in his mock draft in that same one. Lee Hunter's a really interesting prospect. I mean, he's showed incredible power here at the Senior Bowl. But if it's edge rusher, I think, that was where the problem is that once Nick Bosa goes down, you only have a one-trick pony on the other side who can only win with speed. He doesn't have the speed to power. Now, his speed is as great as anybody, but I think you need to get one of these guys that can do speed to power, that can do hands, that can win by speed, that can have a few more tools in their toolbox, because Micah Williams is not meant to be an edge rusher. So once it's like after Nick Bosa, there's no complement that sets up Bryce Huff. And if Bryce Huff goes down, there's no complement that sets up Nick Bosa. You've got to get a third guy in that rotation, I think, on the edge, because one of those two guys is going to miss time,
right,
in some way. Like, it's going to happen. So you've got to have a third guy there. And I think one of these guys are interesting. I know some people are high on LT Overton from Alabama. He did have a lot of good flashes. I don't think he brings as much speed as this group. And for me, I was looking at speed guys because that, like, we have a Sam O, and Sam O can condense the pocket. You can push the pocket a little bit, but you really need a speed complement there. I think that's where they needed more of that than anything on their defense, especially the defensive line. Really force these guys off their marks. You've got to get them a little more speed on defensive line and at the linebacker core when, behind Fred and D.
We always hear John Lynch talk about force multipliers, right? Oh, force multipliers. Your offensive line and your defensive line make everybody better. There has never been a team ever that said, boy, we really invested in our lines of scrimmage and we really regret it. That has never happened in the history of football. The Seahawks are a fine example of when you control the line of scrimmage, you control everything. And as much as we like to talk about schemes and routes and all the trickeration, this game is always going to be fundamentally about one man pushing another man somewhere against his will. And whoever does that better, that was the famous line from Russ Grimm, the Hall of Fame offensive lineman. There's nothing better than pushing a man from point A to point B against his will. So what it's about. And the 49ers, they were not very good at it last year. They need to get better at it. Now, like you said, they have the potential, but they got to keep adding to it. And I hope that they do. That's going to be it for this edition of the show. Thank you, everybody. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you're not watching this live, hype it, please. Just swipe left where you see the like button. There'll be a hype button. If you could push that, it's like a supercharged like. It doesn't cost you anything, and it's a huge, huge, huge way you can support the show. Also, if you want more film breakdowns, Johnny has a ton on his channel, the Johnny Dale Football Academy on YouTube. Go and check it out there. It is like football heaven. If you are a film person, go subscribe to Johnny as well. If you want to see us break down a position or anything, leave a comment. Especially now in the offseason, we're wide open. So if you have something you want to see us break down, leave a comment and we will get to it. We promise. What do you got going on for the rest of the day, Johnny?
Got to go put new shoes on my wife's car.
New tires.
Yeah.
Not ideal. I just did that myself.
Not ideal.
No, not cheap. But you're in Alabama, you said, so you don't have to worry about snow.
No, I don't have to worry about snow. So here it's mainly wet traction. So I got some of the best rated wet traction tires for her little SUV because we get some massive thunderstorms in the Bama, the Gulf Coast states.
Okay. Well, good luck to you. Thanks again, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.